Hey guys, Arm&Gun here. Tonight, gonna take a closer look at the SIG MCX Rattler. This guy, 300 blackout, 5.5 inch barrel. Now there are conversion kits for this thing in 5.56. So I'm gonna show you guys how to quickly and easily change out this barrel. And if you guys know those Calibre conversion kits, or if you just wanna clean it, and if you wanna get access to that piston system, because we'll take that apart as well. So we're gonna take off this handguard, pop out the barrel, take apart the piston system, and that's gonna be today. Alright guys, so first things first, you're going to drop that mag, prove her clear, and then actually go ahead and leave that bolt locked to the rear, because if it stays engaged with the barrel, you're not going to be able to get it out. So, next up, pop this front pivot pin, get this handguard off. That's all that's retaining this handguard, is that front pivot pin. It's a little bit snug on those front rails there, but that comes off, and that's the rail for you, and that's a slick, efficient design. So now, well, here you go. This is your barrel. There's your piston system, which is adjustable basically by hand, unless it's kind of carbon caked in there, in which case you'll want to use the tip of a bullet, or it might give you a little bit of trouble getting out, but we'll get through that. And then your barrel here is basically just these two threaded screws that go through this clamping mechanism that actually clamps the barrel in there. So, I lost my front sight. I guess I need to probably tighten that up while I'm at it as well. Anyways, let's get those backed out. All you're gonna need for tools today is gonna be a T27 Torx head, T27, that's it. Maybe a little mallet in case the piston is a little sticky getting out or back in which case you also might want just a little punch or some type of, maybe even wood if you don't want to mar any of the finish. But nonetheless, let's get this guy backed out for now. It's not very tough. That's about all it's going to take to get these things undone, even from the factory torque setting. I'll let you guys know what the factory torque setting is as well when we put this thing back together. And just a quick note, when you're taking this thing apart, it doesn't matter one or two, it doesn't matter which way you go when you're taking it apart. It does matter when you're putting the barrel back in. I think I heard a click there. So, and just like that, she's out. Not too bad at all. So that's your barrel, all in one simple little unit. So at this point, you can just throw a new barrel assembly in there. If you got that 5.56 conversion, chuck it in there, you're good to go. Or if you want to dial down, if you're cleaning this for maintenance and whatnot, you want to get into this piston, well, let's get that as well. Again, because when this is all clean, I just cleaned this to make sure I knew what I was doing going into this video, but now mine can easily be rotated just with finger pressure. So if yours isn't that easy, let's get into it here. So there's a little button down in there. It's just a little detent basically. So you're just gonna push it in, and then you can rotate this over. And once you've rotated it basically 180, you're gonna be able to get this thing out. And if it's sticky at this point, you can use some leverage to get that thing spun around. If it's really sticky, my trick, take a little mallet. You've got a little push rod built in here with this piston. You can just pop that, and that's gonna pop this guy out. So now with this out, set that down. A few more taps. We should get that piston out unless it's being sticky. Actually, it's probably going to be sticky. There's gas rings on there. You might need a little punch to just coax it out from the bottom. And there we have it. So there is your empty gas block, I guess. And so that's that. We'll set this down for a second. Take a look at your piston. There are those gas rings. That's providing that pressure when you're trying to pop it out there. And this is the side that's impinging on your carrier, this little nub at the end here. And this side up here, that's the side that's taking that pressure off of the gas, the port off the barrel. Now, really cool on your piston thing here, because this is, or your regulator, I suppose, this is set up for running supers and subs. It's got two settings, and you can see them right there. Hopefully my camera's focusing good enough. But one's bigger than the other. The smaller one on the bottom there, that's for supers, because supers have a lot more pressure coming behind them. Subs are a little more anemic, and you need to have a wider, more open gas port so that you're getting as much gas and pressure to run that system as possible. So that's what that guy is there for. So it's kind of neat. Again, if you get this thing apart anyways, oil it, lube it, wash it off, and or wipe it off, and then we're gonna put this thing back together. So let's drop our piston in there. You're gonna want this piston to be nice and flat on the top. Otherwise, it's not gonna be very nice going back in. So we'll get that guy just kind of sitting nice. Then we're gonna tap it back in with my punch here. Again, if you're really concerned about marring anything, just go ahead and use a piece of wood. We're just gonna tap that guy back in. Tap that back down there. And here I got it tapped all the way in. So you can see that's kind of its limit of travel there. It comes all that way out, and that's kind of when it's flush back in there. So now we can also take our regulator, throw that back in there as well. Throw it in kind of upside down. Start turning it, press down this button if you need to, and just spin it all the way around. And again, mine was just freshly cleaned, so it should be basically adjustable just with your fingers. Though there is, again, that hole in there, so you can get a bar or a bullet tip and adjust it on the fly if you need to. So that's that. Now let's throw it back into the gun. So pay close attention to these little lugs here. There's a lug at the 3 o'clock and the 9 o'clock position. Those are you're basically gonna get those all in, seated, so that you can see them through these little windows here on both sides of the guns, because that's gonna let you know that it's all the way in and properly aligned. So there, we got it all the way back. Now, okay, now I recommend leaving your bolt back because I just checked, and when the bolt's forward, it actually puts forward pressure on these ears, and this one wants to actually be all the way forward then. I think we're supposed to have this all the way to the back. So we'll get that clamped down first. Now note on this little clamping mechanism here, there's a 1 beside this front screw and a 2 beside the back one. And you want to go in that order when you're retightening it. So we're just going to put a bit of finger pressure on here so that those threads engage in the back. Otherwise you'll be spinning for a little while, not getting anywhere. And we're just going to get that first one just finger tight. Once we get those threads to engage, I'll actually get the threads to engage probably on them both. And then I can kind of set the gun down and get them all dialed in. Okay, so those are both there. So I'm just going to finger tighten this front one and then the second one. Just going back and forth because they're going to open up as it kind of binds and locks each time. Okay, now once they're finger tight, go ahead and make them hand tight. You can go back and forth a couple times until you kind of feel like you've gotten it as, pretty snug in there, right? Not like busting the heads off the screws, but, snug. And that's basically means it's going to be good to go. If it's that kind of snug, you can throw the handguard back on there. You can start shooting. Like say if you're at the range, you just want to swap barrels, that's going to do it for you. If you want it completely dialed in back to factory spec, for accuracy purposes or just getting it back to that factory spec, go ahead and get a torque limiter or a torque wrench. Set it to 50 inch-pounds, not foot-pounds, inch-pounds, and then just dial it in, and that's going to give you your factory spec again. Then feel free to drop that bolt. Engages really nicely. We can throw our handguard back on. And drop our front pivot pin. And guys, that's it. Super simple, really nice little setup. And we'll throw our mag back in. I'll deal with my front sight later. And we'll toss it back on the Galotech wall where I got it. Big thanks to Galotech. This is a brand new setup. And actually, if you guys want to see, I basically just started filming this video right after I did my last gun vlog, which was a couple days ago. So that's kind of how the way everything's set up here. I kind of went through everything you see here in that video. If you want to check that out, video up here. If you want to see this gun being pulled apart in different detail, not worrying about the front, but worrying about all the internals, I did a full field strip of this thing ages ago. And if you just want to see it being shot, that was yesterday's video, so that's out there as well. Lots of other cool content on the channel. Thank you guys for viewing. Over 50,000 subscribers now. Super pumped about that. And if you guys want to support the channel, like, subscribe, comment, share, do all the things. They do really help get these content out there. And if you want to go the extra mile, I'm on Patreon as well. Some extra perks for my patrons out there. I also make myself available if you guys are actively supporting the channel. I'm happy to take some questions or talk shop, whatever you guys want to do, typically on weekends. And of course, all that goes right back into the channel in terms of ammunition, basically just your typical costs, rent for this place, studio gear, range upgrades, things like that. So I do appreciate that a ton, and I try and make myself available for those patrons that help support this thing. Anyways, that's it for tonight. Thanks a ton, guys. Arm&Gun, out.